Master Chief enjoyers! Halo ODST. It was our final game that hadn't really wrapped up in 2025, so I wanted to get it done before our official start here, which is today. With Calamity Infernum in Terraria is where we're going. But this video is about Halo ODST that I wanted to come back to so desperately. If you saw the first video of just the first couple of hours, I was so excited for this one. It came across to me in that first couple of hours that Halo 3 was very shooty. That's, you know, it's the bread and butter of the Halo franchise, but the writers wanted to do a good story. They wanted to do something a little bit more intricate, a little bit more emotional, have some actual plot threads going on. It's not just like Arbiter do this, and it's certainly in Halo 3 where the Arbiter does nothing. And this was their opportunity. We got this squad, the Drop Shock Troopers, all split up, all with names, different sort of very cliche roles in that team, very much like the Doom movie. So we had Dutch, the big, you know, the big muscle-bound, blow things up. Mickey, the explosive expert. We had Buck, the charismatic, handsome leader, voiced by Nathan Fillion. We had the rookie, his first day on the job, that's going to be sort of our main character, kind of. Romeo, the sniper, the smooth-talking sniper, going to bring you down, and so on and so forth. We had all these different characters. And Dare, the mysterious lady who's part of, like, super intelligence, who's on some secret quest to get something done. But everything goes wrong in Mombasa, and they all get split up, and we play out the game playing as all the different roles, pretty much. We play each one of the characters, what they're up to. Besides Dare and Buck, I don't think we ever play those, but we play literally everybody else, and using their specialities as the troops, the boots on the ground in Mombasa with the Covenant attack, are all trying to save people and clear the streets out and fight back the Covenant stuff. This was great, and there was so much that I immediately fell in love with. One, we're not Master Chief. We're clearly weaker. We're a little bit more scared of the enemies. They changed the soundtrack entirely from the big, bombastic, angelic, to dark and gloomy. They did a lot of stuff with night vision and burnt out buildings and power off across the city, so you had to scope through almost a horror-esque vibe to go into it. So I obviously wanted to come back to this. I wanted to see how they played it out. And getting back into it, yeah, didn't go that way. This has been a harsh lesson for me, is Halo is Halo. Halo's number one primary selling point of what makes Halo Halo and so beloved in so many millions of people's eyes is the gameplay. That's it. It's the gameplay. And similar to the way Call of Duty went, is any sort of story or anything that's attached to it is really just a thin veneer to get you to practice weapons and things like that. But the game is about gameplay and multiplayer. That's what it is. And everything else is superfluous, so to speak. I really do feel they wanted to do something with this, but they just didn't. Either they dropped the ball, or early in development, they were like, okay, spend the first couple of hours establishing these characters and then get into what makes Halo Halo and have you shooty stuff. And that's it. Because there's no story. There is none. I mean, there's story in the last sort of like hour of the game. It's not a very long game either. I think the whole thing's like 6 hours long. But maybe the last 40 minutes, maybe less than that, maybe even 30 minutes, there's a bit of a story. But beyond that, it very quickly descends into just being Halo, and nothing moves the story forward whatsoever. The main overarching story of Halo ODST is reconvene with your teammates. That's it. There's nothing else to it. There's really nothing else to it. You establish the characters in the first couple of hours. You do all these wonderful, wonderful gameplay storytelling techniques. So the game is telling, you know, the way you play the game is dictating the story. And then very quickly just go like, okay, so Dutch is going to be out in the field. He's shooting a bunch of stuff on vehicles. Cool. Mickey's going to be running around blowing tanks up. Cool. Romeo's going to be sniping people. Cool. And then just do that. And basically it's like teaching you how to deal with tanks and explosives. Teach you how to deal with driving vehicles. Teach you how to deal with sniping and stuff like that. Because you're going to transfer that into multiplayer, which is the main selling point of the game. So I don't have much to say about Halo ODST. I was a little disappointed, but it could be argued that I'm looking for something that's just not there. And I think that's fair. That it's just not that kind of game. Some people have said like Halo 4, 5, and 6, Infinite or whatever, did try and do more story-based stuff, and it hasn't worked. We might check those out. Same with Reach. Those are what's remaining for me, is Reach. Besides a lot of spin-offs and things like that, there's the main core stuff is Reach, 4, and 5 and I think 6 are what remain in this franchise for me. But I'm going to touch them later down the line, because I was hoping for something for ODST that I didn't get. I enjoyed the game. It's not a bad game by any means, and I don't want that to come across. It's just that I was hoping that this was an opportunity for them to move away from the Master Chief main storyline of being, you know, Captain America, essentially, this superhero, and like, oh, let's look at what more of the grunt troops are doing, and how they're dealing with the fallout of Master Chief's actions and the war with the Covenant. Like, that was a really maybe gritty look at the perspective of war, which I really love in video games, where they take a video game world doesn't need to involve the same characters, right? It doesn't matter if it's Expedition 33 all the way down to something else. It's like, what is going on elsewhere? Like, we have the superhero power fantasy of Master Chief, but what's actually happening with these grunts that we just see mindlessly shredded left and right while we're playing those superhero characters? I think Half-Life actually did this the best with Blue Shift and things like that, where it's like, okay, you're Gordon Freeman, the chosen one, so to speak, right? G-Man is like guiding this Gordon Freeman character who becomes this slayer of aliens. But what's going on with like Barney, the security guard who's locked out at the beginning of the game? What's going on with that guy who's also dealing with this environment and not being guided by bizarre forces and things like that? I love that stuff. It's not really here, which is fine. It's totally fine. I don't think I was being blind, because some of the feedback I saw was like, yeah, it's Halo, what did you expect? They start the game with that in mind, right? They start the game with that different perspective. So I don't think I was wrong to be like, oh, I think we're going in a different direction and be excited about that. It's just, it doesn't do that. It just doesn't do that at all. I have a feeling ODST does play into the main story somewhat, because we find Virgil at the end of the game, who is this sort of like Covenant slave that has defected and is now looking to help out in some way, and we have a cigar and a cigar with him at the end, which is very funny. I do love the story elements they tried to put in order to give it some sort of weight. It's a very childish, I wonder how hard it is to write extremely childish storylines with the strange love situation that's happening between Buck and Dare, because they suddenly break out into a kiss, which comes from nowhere, and you're like, what the hell? And then they go into this like little fight later on, about 5 minutes later, and you're like, oh my god, this is just, it's like writing for, I guess, like a Saturday morning cartoon. Is essentially what it is, right? There's Saturday morning cartoons that I used to watch, like Turtles and things like that. But Virgil has got like an AI in him. The creature has downloaded the city's AI. There is a more interesting story actually happening in ODST, which is found through logs that are collectibles, essentially, that you find throughout the game, following Sadie, who is the daughter of the president, I think, who is in communication with the city's AI directly, and is being like attempted to be kidnapped and breaking out to get back into the city. I didn't find all the logs, but that story was interesting. There was a mystery that was unfolding there, but you have to do various numbers of things in order to get the whole thing or explore the whole game, which I didn't get all of them. I got a lot of them, but I didn't get all of them. And that was cool, adding in this extra sort of, it's done via still images, like a comic book, essentially, just regaling the story. But I didn't get the whole thing. But that was more intriguing than what was happening with the main characters. I will say, after the first 2 hours, after it did all this interesting story stuff of like, where is Dare? We've got to get to her. There was an urgency to it. Everything I played after that 2 hours was just action shooty, including one of the most, I think it's worth bringing up here, because this is definitely where the devs show their hand. You know, the curtain is pulled back a little bit. The driving section. All the Halo games have some sort of big driving section, usually the end of the game, to escape the big explosion that you've set off or destroying the Halo rings. This one couldn't do that because you're in Mombasa, so it had a highway driving section. This thing goes on for like half an hour and is just awful. Absolutely awful. Somebody said you can force it so you can take part in this, and when I say take part, the game wants you to be the driver because it wants to show you the cinematic experience. Very Halo 3. It wants to show you what it's demonstrating. It wants to show you what they've put together. It wants to basically... It would prefer if you'd stop playing the game at this point and just watch what they've done. Because they've done some cool stuff with, like, the drill ship arriving to uncover the Ark, and it's coming through the city and all this. And it is beautiful. But the gameplay is basically you drive the Warthog, Buck does all the shooting, and Dare and Virgil drive a tank and blow everything up. And you just sort of hang out in the car and just wait for them to kill everything. You could, you can actively jump out and take part and shoot stuff and all that, but that's what the game wants you to do, is just hang out in the Warthog and just watch what's happening while they kill everything. And it goes on forever, dude. It goes on for so long. I was genuinely like, oh, come on, man. This is so miserable. And then he even gets gun upgrades. It's like, okay, let's ditch the machine gun. Now let's get the Gauss rifle Warthog instead. And now I get a new gun. I'm like, oh, good for Buck. That's cool. Buck got himself a new gun to play with. That's fun. Anyway, I'll watch here. No boss in this game. No boss. The boss fight, I guess, is actually the showdown at the final building. When you're trying to escort Virgil out, they just have this huge horde wave situation. Again, they kind of show their hands here. There's it's not too particularly difficult, and you're aware there's more dangerous enemies on the field, like hunters and the big melee guys, but they're programmed not to attack you until everything else is dead. So I ended up in a situation where one of the enemies had kind of been blasted or something far away, and I was just like shooting at it, and it just wouldn't attack me. It just was chilling until that mob eventually died, and then he charged at me. And I was like, it's so on the nose with how it's designed, but it is an older game, so I'm not bothered by it. But it's one of those things where you just see that curtain pulled back and you're like, oh, okay, I understand what's going on here. It's horde waves that will not engage until certain points, even if you shoot them. Because I wanted to use his melee weapon, which is why I found out. I was like, oh, I want the big hammer so I can crush everything. But he wouldn't come at me. He's like, no, you've got work to do, and then I'll come and play. I'm not even sure if he's invincible at that point. He's probably not, but it was kind of fun to see those things. Ultimately, I give this Halo ODST a B. It's still a very good game. It's a very good Halo game. It's just that I've now got to readjust my perspective a little bit. I had settled into this perspective that Halo was big, bombastic shooter, hoorah, go forward. So, 2, I think, is still my favorite. I think 2 is still my favorite. 2 actually tried to do something different. There was definitely, and I've seen this, I've gone back and checked some old forum threads of people being not happy with how that game went, which is a shame because that's what I really love. And it's the reason that when it comes to FPS games, certainly these days, I used to play competitive FPS when I was a lot younger, is I'm looking for a good story to tie it all together. Like great gameplay and good story mixed on top of it. It's why I love Dead Space. It's why I love the original BioShocks. All those kinds of games are my favorites because it had fantastic gameplay, but it was wrapped up in a good, cohesive storytelling element that puts it all together. This is very similar to modern military shooters, I suppose to say. It's a thin veneer of a story to prepare you for what the actual game is. And that's what it is, and that's fine. That's fine. That's totally fine. I thought ODST was going in a different direction. Didn't. And I'm not going to expect that going forward, but I'm still enjoying the Halo franchise enough to play more of them, right? It's not like, oh, this is crap. It's not. It's very, very good. And as it gets better, I want to see what more they do. Although people have warned me, Halo 4, I think, is really, really bad, which in my world just makes me want to play more of it. I was like, okay, no, well, we need to check it if it's really bad. But apparently we must do Reach first, because they bring up Reach an awful lot. So Reach has a lot to live up to. I think since game 1. Pretty sure Reach is mentioned in Halo 1. So whatever Reach is, I'm looking forward to that. So ODST, a high B. Not what I was looking for, but it's definitely Halo. Bye.